Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwadner. I'm the founder and publisher of Selling Power magazine and friend of Iannarino. Welcome, Anthony.
Good to see you, Gerhard. It's been too long.
Way too long. And since COVID, you have been very prolific. You have done live seminars, you have done virtual training, and you have a new book coming.
I do have a new book coming, and I
Tell us
just
about
turned it in to the publisher. I have to tell a story to introduce the idea, because if I don't share the story, then people are going to be confused and they're not going to understand what I'm saying. And they're going to go like, wow, that's really aggressive. In 2010, I went to Lhasa in Tibet. But before I went to Tibet, I went to my doctor and I said, I'm afraid that I'm going to get altitude sickness and I'm not going to be able to enjoy this trip. And he said, I'll write you a prescription for altitude medicine. Well, if you've never been to Lhasa, you fly in at 15,000 feet and you never descend. You just land at 15,000 feet. That's where you are. And you get out of the airplane and immediately you're gasping for air. Like the air is so thin and you're not used to it because you live at something closer to the sea level. So I'm taking this and I still don't feel good. I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I can't breathe. I continue to take the medicine as prescribed. I've got this guide and he notices that I'm having trouble walking up this hill. And he said, what's wrong with you? And I said, I've got altitude sickness. Now I'm at 17,000 feet. And I said, my hands are tingling, my arms are tingling, my face is tingling, and it just won't go away and I'm having trouble breathing. And he said, you're allergic to altitude sickness medicine. And I'm stuck with an idea that I have a medical professional who went to college, who's very, very smart. He's a good doctor who prescribed me medicine. And now I have a guy who has yak dung under his fingernails and who is not educated in any way that you would call, an education, but he has a different type of education. So his type of education is he brings people up to Mount Everest. Only one of these people that's giving me advice has ever been to the Himalayas. So I'm going to err on the side of taking his advice, and I throw the medicine away. And so I worked my way up this hill. I started walking faster. I started breathing, and I felt better. The concept of the book is called One Up. So in every conversation, one person is one up and one person is one down. It's not a judgment of their individual value. It's nothing like that. It's just one person has greater knowledge and experience than the other one. What I'm arguing is that as the salesperson, you're responsible for guiding the client to the better results, which means you have to be one up. Because if the client already knows everything that you know, they don't need you. But when they are missing something, where they don't have the insights, where they don't have the experience, where you sell something every day and they buy it once every 6 years, you have to be one up to guide them to the best result possible. So the book is about all of the strategies and tactics that you can use to become one up and then become your trusted advisor for your client. And I would argue, as the one who is one up, you have an obligation to help them and you have an obligation to teach them what they don't know so that they don't have to stay one down.
What prevents people from motivating themselves to be one up?
Conflict aversion and fear of their client. So a lot of times the client will say, why don't you just do this? And they try to skip a step. And instead of being the one leading the conversation, they're afraid that if they did lead the conversation, that the client would somehow reject their advice and their recommendations. If the client doesn't want to do the work on their side to be able to get those better results, then you have to tell them the truth. And the truth is you can't skip that step. We need to meet with your team. If you don't build consensus around this, even if you do end up purchasing it, you're not going to be able to execute it because we have no buy-in. So my fear is that we're not going to be able to get this done unless we do this. So there's other things that cause people to be one down too. This is a time where you can no longer be a know-nothing. Like it's not good enough to be able to talk about your company. It's not good enough to talk about your products. It's not good enough to show somebody a bunch of logos. And it's definitely not a good time to say, Gerhard, what's keeping you up at night? Like if you don't already have some sort of a theory about what the problem is that the client must be experiencing, Why'd you even bother calling them in the first place? And I would argue you can't be a know-it-all either, but you have to be that knows a lot of the right things right now for us and is able to create value and help us get through this problem that we have.
When you're in a different environment and you're in a different altitude, you require a different kind of thinking. And it's the same with a client. If a client wants to reach a higher altitude, then need to consider another way to think about their problem and about their challenges. And the one-up experienced salesperson can introduce that different point of view.
And I would argue that I've got this image that we use. It's a bunch of mountains, and some of the mountain paths go straight up, and some sort of go circuitous route all the way up to the top. And you have to look and say, like, what's this person need and what could they do? Do they have enough knowledge and enough experience and enough bandwidth right now to just go charging up the side of the mountain because they're strong enough to do it right now? Or do you need to give them some time and walk them up there? And I think that the person who spends all their time helping people get a result should know what best for the client to do in whatever situation it is. Like, you should know best.
Awesome. I can't wait to read your new book. It sounds very exciting. Can people pre-order it on Amazon?
Not quite yet. We just turned the manuscript in on September 1st. It'll go out pretty soon though.
We will follow up with another interview when we have a publishing date. How's that?
Sounds great.